Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Taught Novice with myself, Dati Obey, Silas Vimpon, and a ghost. At this point, he has missed so many episodes that I'll actually
For
be comfortable calling
information,
him a
I am the
guest.
director of this podcast. Revolves around me.
You know what you have done is so bad to the extent that Obey actually changed the order of introduction.
Exactly.
Oh,
You see the order of introduction on slide? That's actually the way it goes. That's Obey Max or Dankwa and Silas Wimpo. This time around, you brought me before you.
well, that sounds like a serious demotion right there.
I've relegated him to a guest for missing so many episodes. But anyway,
So Maxwell, thank you for joining
So-
us.
thank you for joining us. Who are you? What do you do?
What, you need my bio now?
Yes, I need
This
to
is-
buy you as a guest.
Wow.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm a young guy trying to
Okay.
make it in life, and wondering why I have to even do this to begin with. It's part of the podcast, but yeah, it's all good and well. So yeah,
Anyway.
welcome to Self-Taught Novice. My name is
Yeah.
Max Onwa.
Yeah. So before we move any further, Silas has
Yeah.
a testimony to share. You know, as
Ah.
a man of God, who preaches my own gospel, I share my gospel on this podcast. So Silas, please. Yesterday we had not really a lengthy conversation, but we spoke on the phone, and you mentioned something that you said if Maxwell comes, you share with him on the podcast. So please.
I'm here, Salas. What's the
I keep
juice?
forgetting about that, but I mean, not to inflate Obey's ego about
Well,
preaching,
it's all about
preaching well
perspective.
and all that, but I mean, if someone deserves commendation, I think like you should definitely see it. So the essential.
Where is this going?
I mean, like if you care to notice, I mean, not you guys, but in the audience, we couldn't have our last recording session because I had like internet issues and all that too. So during that downtime, I expected like, okay, like why not remain productive and then read the book of Vincent? At least like that will just pass away time. So I used that time to read the Essentialism book, and then it has made me really reflect on lots of things I did before and how I prioritize my time and opportunities that came my way. Rather than like if right now I'm like 20 something. So I think when I was around like 19, that was when like I really needed this book to like sort of shape some of the decisions and then choices I made. So having that now, I mean like I've already learned the lesson the hard way at that time, but then having that now, I've obviously shaped my way of thinking and then probably salvage some relationships I lost through that like moment in my life. So
Some relationships you lost.
That's not the that's not the point of the testimony.
that's what
Okay, sure.
I mean, not in a good way, but in terms of like I'm supposed to work on with someone on a project, but then because I spread myself thin, like my energy was going like multiple directions instead of having it get them focused towards one place. Like it was all over the place, so I couldn't have time to work with people on other projects. So that led to disappointments in like projects not being completed and all that. So that kind of like damaged some relationships I had with people. So that's what I meant by it's spoiled some relationships. I mean, it's nothing too deep and personal.
All
I
right.
didn't think anything else, but okay, sure.
Thank you, my church member. So back to the main issue.
At this
In
point, I'm
last
the only one who
episode,
hasn't read the book. I have
Maxwell
to.
called the essentialism book the essentialism nonsense. Maxwell,
Wait, he did.
yes.
He used the word nonsense. Wow,
Yes.
that was.
I do recall using that word. You don't have to play it. There's no need for that. I said, yeah, the nonsense in that book. I remember I said it, but I think it was a joke and all. But yet again, I can still defend my stance because I haven't read the book. Silas is a very objective person and he's not biased. So
Hey,
this
so you're
verdict he's
biased.
given. But you brought the book, so obviously you're biased. So Silas's take on the book proven to be a serious draw for me. So I think by the time we'll get on the next recording, I'll have some feedback on that and see what the big deal or the fuss is all about.
I mean, it's not exactly a big deal, dude. It's just like, for me, reading it, it's almost like Life Fundamentals 101. I feel like it's something everyone should have.
And what I like about the book is that it doesn't really tell you what to do. It's not really a self-help book. It's more of
how you stumble on it.
Funny. So Logan Paul's podcast.
Yeah, I remember that. I was I mean, not to throw shade to Logan Paul, but like I honestly didn't expect like a book of that nature to actually come from
at least
this podcast or content or something. No shade, dude, no shade. I'm just saying.
But it's funny, ironic. Anytime someone asks me, how did you hear of it? And Logan Paul, especially those who know him, will be like, are you serious?
Yeah. It's not obvious
after he got cancelled.
Yeah,
after he got cancelled and all that, I think he has gotten time to like sit back and reflect on a lot of things.
Yeah. When he went to the suicide forest in Tokyo, so and he recorded the dead
unsavory jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah, but then he has matured. I mean, I've followed Logan from day one till now, so I've really seen him mature. Like, even though he doesn't know I exist, but then like he's one person.
Probably
it's interesting that he doesn't really exist because I am sure in Ghana, like you are probably like his biggest fan. Or probably Africa. I don't know about other parts of the world.
Because like I've seen him move from that boy from Ohio on Vine through starting a YouTube channel, Hey Yo, Lone Gangsters and all those stuff, moving through the whole Tokyo cancellation, going through breakup, starting a podcast. The podcast being one of the biggest podcasts existing digitally. So even like his status mesh company, making millions and all that, I've seen it all. But then, one day our paths will cross the same way Lady Gaga and Passenger will cross my path. So one day our paths will cross.
Now like with this whole COVID season, like physical interactions are sort of like fading away gradually. Especially like when opportunities for such interactions.
I remember the last time I hugged a girl. Now you mentioned it.
Wait, why were you specific about a girl, not a human being?
Which other physical contact is worth talking about? I mean, boys handshake. That doesn't count.
You can hug your bro. You can hug your father. You can hug your sister.
You
can hug
give me the BS.
Be it your fish or dog.
Well, that's not the point.
That's not the point. Young ladies.
Oh, what the hell? No. At this point, you're even forcing an agenda on me. There's no need for that.
No, I'm not forcing an agenda. Okay, explain yourself.
I don't remember the last time I hugged a girl. Contact has been very scarce. Oh my goodness, I have to mute myself.
But you're the one making the point.
Yeah, contact has been very scarce, and I miss.
Guys, don't worry. That's Maxwell's child in the background.
That's not my child. Please don't lower my market value. Stop doing that. Anyway, so I'm saying, if you think about it, basic forms of communication, basic form of touch, like as Silas has become so rare. And I'm saying, I just jumped in to see. It's been a while since I hugged a girl, like a long while, like 7 months plus, and I miss it. Nothing objectifying about that. I'm sure lots of girls also.
But when's the last time you hugged a guy?
A guy?
Yeah.
So before Corona, I actually had my own social distancing protocol for guys already. So yeah.
So how different is a female from a male in the hugging department?
Oh, I think you know that it's very different. I don't need to tell you. And if you don't know, then I think you have to question your orientation sexually.
No, it's a hug. No, Maxwell,
it's a hug.
That's an interesting thing over there, Maxwell.
Yes.
Silas.
A hug is platonic.
The lines are not blurred.
sexual.
No, it's not platonic. even if it is probably on the surface is platonic.
We
What?
should be canceling you soon, though.
What the hell?
Why you objectifying?
Okay,
At this point, you're objectifying hags. You're objectifying females. You're saying that whenever you hag a female, it goes beyond just a hag. There's some meaning behind it. By virtue of the fact that you'd rather hag a female than a male.
Can you shelf this woke nonsense for a second?
Who started? Who know? What before we started recording, Silas, don't you remember Maxwell said something about the fact that he's the woke person. He's the wokest person on this podcast.
Okay. I'll just oh. Anyway, Silas, you were saying you COVID, no chance of that thing, crossing paths with passenger or Lady Gaga. That's for sure. And basic communication has become impeded. Yeah, take it over from there. Let's ignore this guy.
Why are you running?
So things like concerts and all that are being virtualized too. I think an example is my favorite one of my favorite artists, Coldplay. Like he's been having like virtual concerts since COVID started. So
Yeah, passenger.
I think this year.
Facebook, YouTube Live.
YouTube Live, yeah.
But
Coldplay
said they are targeting zero emissions. So now they are not going to, fly for concerts.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've listened to their new album, Everyday Life. It has this sort of like African vibe to it. So I think last year they were planning on touring South Africa. So me being a hardcore,
the only Africa they know is South Africa.
Yes, because I don't know. Should I say? Because like, how do I put it? South Africa is more.
Coldplay should just do what Greta did. She sailed to the G6 meeting or so. Zero emissions. She sailed. She didn't use a plane. So they should try to start sailing around for concerts. Yeah, that should be better.
I mean, that would be too much work.
Well,
because my bucket list is to definitely like go to like a Coldplay concert, like physical concerts. It's something my bucket list. But the way COVID
is to get passenger to perform at my wedding.
I would. Well, we know that's not happening.
It will happen.
That's not happening.
It will happen. It will happen.
Yes, this happened because a scenario happened recently.
In my first wedding, how confident you are.
A scenario happened. A scenario happened where a scenario happened where someone like I think an 8-year-old boy who was like a very serious J. Cole fan was about to die, and some way somehow he was able to speak to J. Cole before he died. So I feel like probably at your darkest moment or your
relax. It's my darkest moment. I should be able to afford.
That would be when someone probably hit passenger. Charlie, like your biggest one you can't let go. So
but
I should be able to
afford
him to perform at my wedding. I owe myself that gift. Wow. I owe myself that gift.
If you have the money, you definitely show up.
Exactly. This was.
First of all, passenger doesn't look like a big deal.
Gentleman, what's your word?
No, he does. He's not a big deal. Though. I mean, if we're talking about Maroon 5, I'll be scared for you because that's almost unattainable. You understand? But passenger, he's almost like B-list artists, not A-list. But anyway,
why hurting my feelings like that?
If Obin was lucky, and during the shooting of this video, I've forgotten the name. This song, the one where they were actually like crashing people's weddings and all that.
Yeah. Is it Animal? No, it's not Animal.
No.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah. I sing the two to remember the words. Then I reverse to the title.
I know that song like the back of I'm coming. Are we starting the discussion or not? Because this is not a lifestyle podcast, it's a technology podcast.
We'll get there. Relax. We'll get there.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar. Yes, please.
Like, the probability of you getting Maroon 5 to like perform at your wedding is during the shooting of Sugar. So if that didn't happen, then your time passed.
Oh, but
But that thing was actually it wasn't made up. Oh, it was an actual gate crashing.
yeah.
Yeah, it was an actual wedding. And I'm like, wow.
No, but I'm
how did they
certain these
possibly
people.
pull that
No,
off?
these people actually perform at some places for the right price. That one, they're like, for example,
But definitely.
you see a billionaire's house, you enter for a party, you see John Legend playing on the keyboard. Yeah, I mean, it may seem unattainable, but for the right price, you can do anything on this earth. So on that note, Passenger, well, I don't care whether he looks like someone who might no, then to be bad to say this, but then I mean he's had his own struggles with alcohol and stuff. So I pray by the time I'm getting married,
So-
he's okay.
Hey, wasn't that why he made a song Let It Go? Or that wasn't it?
No, that was about Let It Go was about someone he loved and lost, but then realized it after. Yeah, but then most of his songs too are not really about him. They're about conversations he has had with people. A typical example. No, sorry. This is not a passenger podcast. So anyway, so speaking of Africa, you know, Facebook is opening an office in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think right now most of these tech companies are opening engineering offices in Nigeria and
I'd
Kenya.
have you know that Luis Capaldi's "Before You Go" is one of the best songs of the year. But yeah,
Maxwell.
Louis Capaldi's entire album, the devil, uninspired to a devilish extent or so. Let me see. I have this album. It's a beauty. I listened to it. Divinely uninspired to a hellish extent. I love the entire album to the extent I even have the extended play.
Do you think the audience really cares about your music taste and your opinion?
No, but you
on
guys
it?
should listen to this. Like, it's
and they should. It's a very nice album.
Every song on that album is on point, especially Bruises, Forever, maybe, and don't get
Before you go, you can't say it without adding "Before You Go." That's a dope song.
That's no. Before you go, it's actually Hold Me While You Wait, or yeah.
Before You Go is actually it's on
it's on it. Yeah, Before You Go.
About a suicidal girl doesn't tell people about the fact that she's caving in and she basically leaves all her family hanging. It's a dope.
It's crazy, man.
Dope song.
Louis.
Anyway,
and he has this unique voice.
Yeah.
And
I can't believe you guys didn't know Ragging Bone Man, the song I recommended. That guy's voice, oh my goodness.
His voice is not
to die
special.
for.
It's a normal R&B voice.
I mean, for his voice is special. I mean, like,
How can you say it's not special?
His voice is normal.
Do you listen?
I know it is him.
How do you listen to music?
I feel like his voice is very unique.
Oh,
Human. His voice
Salas.
is
Anyway, go and listen to his other songs. You don't just go by that single song. There's more to the guy.
I'm saying his voice is okay.
When I heard Ed Sheeran's voice at first, when I heard Beyonce's voice at first, when I heard Passenger's voice at first, when I heard Jessie Reyes' voice at first, these are people who have unique, untraditional voices. You understand? Maybe I said
Good, but you
Beyonce.
didn't even know. You didn't even know Ragging Bone Man. So I
Because-
told you. So what about discovering the guy?
Same. I was so ignorant of it.
Yeah, because they are. If you're talking about unique voices, we have Tom Odell, James Bay, James Blake, James Arthur. Very, very good voices.
James Arthur too
That
has
you
a
don't
very unique voice. Yeah, James Bay too. James Bay. Anyway, Maxwell. Let's.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Enough.
today,
Before you guys
yeah, let's stop in there.
hands at each other.
Virtual punches. Anyway, so Maxwell, what are we talking about today?
We have a long list of stuff to discuss, which surprises me. How come we're able to veer off the topic so much? Amazon products launch, we look at that. Facebook and Instagram cross-platform announcements coming out. Microsoft Outlook crashes, and apparently people at Silas's workplace lose their heads. Samsung looks to overtake Huawei. So that's what's on the bill for discussion today.
Samsung looks to overtake Huawei.
Yeah.
As in, take over the company or take over their market share?
No, overtake Huawei. Production, smartphone, chips, 5G race.
That makes more sense.
And we should probably, for that one, we should probably look at a video from Mr. Who's the Boss on YouTube. He did a nice breakdown. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Anyway.
So let's start with Amazon. Amazon products launch.
Yeah. Their new Nest come.
Yeah.
I call it the Nest Cam. The Nest Cam is a Google product.
Hey, this is what Amazon was. Nest. Who bought
No,
Nest?
I think I call it the Echo Dot.
No, the drone one.
Yeah, the drone one is Echo Dot. Oh, it's not.
No. Echo Dot is the.
But Nest was acquired. Hey, it's called Ring.
Amazon owns Ring. Amazon owns Ring, and Google owns Next. Okay.
Yeah, Nest. Yeah.
All right. So is
I
the
don't know.
Ring?
Funny thing about the Amazon Ring is that I saw someone make a funny tweet about how like the content creators of OnlyFans should get an Amazon Ring.
So that.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I mean,
That's
if you know OnlyFans, like I don't need to like elaborate further.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, I mean,
it
it's to
was
change
just
perspective. Respect to
Yes.
viewing content in general, not necessarily OnlyFans content. but I mean, it seems like a very practical solution, and I wonder why no one really thought about it. Because it makes sense.
Yeah.
It docks itself. It's able to go around your house, mapped, to find out if there's any issue. Then it comes back to its docking station.
Yeah, but I don't really think it's a matter of who didn't think about it, because I think in America there are lots of drone startups, but probably who has enough money to actually like build
Scale it.
Implement it.
Yeah, build idea to this level and then scale it. Yes, because
Yeah.
you probably build it, but you wouldn't have like a market or serious,
Yeah.
like similar to what Amazon has, like actually purchase the product.
Looks like it's
Yeah.
Kickstarter project to me, Kara.
Yeah,
It does
actually, when
not.
I saw initially, I thought it was a Kickstarter project.
Yeah.
So I realized that was
And
part
so
of
far as-
Amazon's hardware
So
line.
far as Amazon, I bet you it has been produced somewhere. Jeff Bezos is using it in his house. He has like 3 or 4, and he's taking some
Yeah.
IMAX cinema style and videos.
Amazon is turning out to be like the Apple of consumer products, where we know it's there, but if they add the attached to it, everyone's gaga or something like that. Anyway, Amazon, hey God, Amazon just announced, Silas Gabe, Amazon just announced a bunch of new products at this annual hardware event. We cover everything Amazon announced. I'm reading from CNBC. So yeah, the products that were announced: all new Amazon Echo Dot with clock, Echo Dot Kids Edition, new Aero 6 Wi-Fi mesh network routers, a new video game streaming service called Luna. This is an interesting one. It's a competitor to
very
Google
interesting.
Stadia and Microsoft's game streaming. Now, cloud gaming looks to be the next biggest thing, actually. A brand new
Africa.
Echo Show smart display with Alexa built in, a crazy Ring security camera drone that can fly around your house, a new in-car security system that will first launch with Teslas. Yeah, basically. So that's what's up. CNBC. So it looks like Amazon, unveiled quite a collection, and
Yeah.
apparently their stock went up after the hardware unveiling, which should tell you that they're really investing a lot in their R&D. So yeah.
But I feel like it's something that has become like a norm for should I say FANG companies. So when I say FANG, I mean Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. Where like anytime they debut products to their consumer base, their stock price goes up. So with Apple events, almost every September, October, their stock price like surges just for
Yeah.
like during the time of the event, but then I think after some time it eventually comes back.
Hey, so I've been
Yeah.
wanting the stock market to crash so that I can invest my coins in it. I've waited, sir. I'm really about to start spending the money.
Yeah, but you can still invest as low as $1.
No.
I mean, because right now
I need
there are a
something
lot of
substantial.
stock
He
splits
wants to
around.
buy junk stock for pennies on the dollar, then
That's
hope for a
smart.
resurgence.
No hope.
Then he'll make money. That's what he's thinking about.
With their hardware lineup, one thing I find interesting is their partnership with Tesla about a new in-car security system that is beginning with Tesla cars. And then it reminds me of earlier this year when Apple have their WWDC event where like they're trying to integrate uh, smartphones with smart cars, or should I say electric cars and all that. So I feel like gradually these, should I say, big tech
WWDC
companies,
event
yeah, WWDC.
this year. I thought WWDC and MWC were cancelled.
No, they happened.
No,
They were all
yeah.
virtual.
It
Happened
happened.
early
Really?
this year around April.
Oh, before
Yeah, when they
Corona.
talk- No, during
They
Corona,
happened
so it was
virtually.
virtual.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they announced like updates to Apple CarPlay and all that. So you can basically see that I think with
That's when the
now
iOS
electric-
14 beta was announced.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They
Okay,
tend
go
to
ahead.
realize that low key Tesla is trying to build this ecosystem of should I say integration layer for these like consumer based tech companies to actually like widen their spread or influence on should I say devices that people use. Because like if it's sitting a Tesla, like Tesla already has like this dope tech this whole this dope tech software infused into it, and now you have integration with Apple, you have integration with Amazon. It will come as no surprise if like Facebook or Microsoft starts partnering with Tesla. as
What the
well.
hell is Amazon Fire Stick? I've always been wondering. I've been seeing it all over. What is the Fire Stick? What is it?
It's almost like a Google Chromecast.
Chromecast,
It's basically Google Chromecast competition.
So basically, it helps your
Okay.
TV to be smart.
Explain what Google. So it links it to the web.
Exactly, and you can have services
Yeah.
like say a
Netflix.
Samsung Smart TV. Basically, it makes your TV smart. It has that
Smart, yeah.
layout smartness to it.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, Silas, you're saying.
Oh yeah, I was actually done making my point. So I'm saying that basically Tesla would be in for like a very long time because of these partnerships they started having with foreign companies. Probably a time will come where we'll probably hear Netflix is partnering with Tesla to have like in-car, I don't know, movie premieres
Or
movie-
Epic Games and Tesla, because they have such
Yeah.
huge.
Epic Games Centers, and even Facebook as well with their Oculus projects. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that
I feel like
sounds
they'll
like a
find-
very bad idea for driving.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the interview Zuckerberg had with MKBHD, like
Yeah, I
he
watched it.
elaborated about some wild plans he has with augmented reality and virtual
Yeah.
reality. Like, I mean, if it wasn't for that interview, I didn't know that Facebook was really thinking broadly about augmented reality. So I'm really interested in what will come up in the next 5 or 10 years.
So
And
yeah, and
Another thing too, once you talk about the
Yeah.
Luna, them launching
I
Luna.
was getting to that. So
Okay.
it looks like game streaming wars have begun. They began a long time ago, but comparatively, PSN was not really a cloud gaming platform. So you can't say Sony took that lead, but Microsoft with their new Xbox S series, they're starting to buy into that space. Of course, Google Stadia came before that, and
Yeah.
you see the big copycats. Yes, Jeff Bezos. This guy called him a copycat. Elon Musk calls him a copycat anyway. So you see Luna stepping into the space, bringing out gaming. First of all, what do you think the future of cloud gaming is? I feel is good. It was good news, but I mean, if you are putting so much in the cloud and you are sort of dumbing down hardware, because that's what eventually is going to happen.
Yeah, that was going to happen.
You dumb down the hardware. Yeah, you dumb down the hardware.
I mean, not exactly. Yeah. I mean, they would actually have to do more work in the hardware department.
No, they'll do less
because right now they are not
consumer hardware.
Oh yeah, I mean the consumer hardware part will fall off, but then for things like data centers and then actually replicating that hardware and scaling it for multiple users to actually have access to would be like a serious infrastructure work to actually complete. Because imagine that.
But then to be more centralized, so in actual sense, would they be doing much work? It's like,
they would.
Like Google Drive. We all tap into the same interface. We all tap into the same server. Even though we all have
but Google manages all the data centers that actually support all that. So just imagine that like you're collaborating with someone on a document, but regardless of your internet speed, there's little to no latency on how like document changes appear or how quickly like you're able to collaborate with other people. Even an example is video calls as well. Like you have these like huge servers that actually like support all these phone calls, especially right now like with the COVID times where like people are making much more video calls.
I start to be corrected. PlayStation does have a cloud gaming service called PlayStation Now. PlayStation Now, yeah. I stand to be correct. I thought it was just a subscription.
One thing I think when PlayStation announced their newest PlayStation 5, and there was this picture showing a timeline from the first PlayStation to the fifth one, you realize that the sizes have increased over the years, which directly goes against Moore's law, which in summary states that
I feel like that law has been violated a long time.
Yeah, but
has it been violated? If you think about it,
it has slowed down rather. Because as for those who may not know it, the summary is basically as tech advances, the physical size of devices are going to shrink and become smaller. But they realize that when it comes to mobile phone technology, it has become quite stagnant. But when you look at things like robotics, things like
no, it hasn't become stagnant.
Phones.
Realize when it comes to chipsets, now we are looking at 5 nanometer chipsets, which is the smallest in the business. It's gotten smaller. Components.
But then the phone is being put in. Size hasn't changed. Like for example, compare the S20 to the Flip Fold 2. You realize that the Fold 2 is heavier and bigger than the S20.
But that is not in response.
That's not to say that the
processing power. It's more like for use case scenarios.
For use case for like compartments like camera and all that like adds up to the size, and then it means due to the increased processing power that will be added to it, you have to put in more chips in order to like support things like proper video calls, online game streaming.
In some years, those chips can be summed up together as one chip.
Yeah. I think, like I said, if you break it down to a granular level and you look at the components, they are getting smaller. For example, have you seen the expansion slot on the Xbox Series X? It's a 1 terabyte expansion slot that looks like a PlayStation 2 memory card.
I thought about that too.
But then, crazy. But then you realize that the whole point is that as these things are getting smaller, the technology is getting more powerful in general. You get it?
True.
So that means it should also affect the actual size of the device. Like a PC 10 years ago shouldn't look like a PC now. With let's say smaller chips, the general size of the PC should change or should shrink because the transistors and internal components are shrinking, and that's my point. So if you look at the PlayStation,
that goes nicely into the discussion that MKBHD had with Mark Zuckerberg, where he said the future of
Oh, so
VR and
you
AR.
watch AMKBHD.
I
Interesting.
listened to
Yeah.
his Waveform podcast just for informational purposes. I'm not his biggest fan, I'd have you know. So
But it's so nice that you listen to him.
I don't shy away from information anyway. So he's talking about how, I mean, Oculus and the idea they are putting together might look to even replace conventional cell phones, because like he said a screen, a 6.4-inch screen is not immersive enough, if anything at all. He finds it a bit distracting from the environment. He feels that technology should advance such that it will you confuse it, you can't differentiate it between your spatial environment and the digital environment, like full undisruptive immersion. And when we get to that stage, we're going to see phones as we know them, like this concrete metallic slab, which is called a phone. We are going to see it change into, let's say, just a VR headset, and it can do everything. So
Yeah, but on that same episode, he was
about your
actually
points.
making a broader sense or a futuristic sense. You'd actually incorporate it into classes, where like you could put on like a regular frame of my size or bin size, and you could actually enter or immerse yourself in a VR world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to what I was saying. So with respect to PlayStations, you realize that the size of the PlayStation 1 compared to the PlayStation 5 is like 3 times the size. Like there's been like a 3 times increase, which doesn't actually make sense if you look at
It makes sense given. I mean, I understand your points here, but it also makes sense given the kind of games that are coming out.
No, I
Because
mean,
kind of games that are coming out are more graphic
getting there.
intensive.
Yeah, you realize that they are increasing. They are gradually increasing the power of their consoles. Like the consoles can do a lot more as the years go by.
What does Moore's law say? What does it actually say?
Let me Google the actual definition for us.
Because I need to get to the bottom of this.
It's about transistors reducing in size every something. But
give us the layman's summary, because if you get technical,
that's what I gave it at the beginning. So
so it's basically saying the number of transistors.
The observation that the number of transistors in a dense integrated circuit doubles about 2 or more years. But then in actual sense, when you take it to the layman's perspective, basically all that he's trying to say, and Moore's law was more of a research, it was a research finding that as the years go by, these things are going to increase rapidly. But then the effective size of what's the name? The effective size of these devices are not necessarily going to be affected by that. Are going to be affected, but then they won't necessarily become bigger, because as the transistors increase, we find new ways of making the entire system smaller. That's why you can have we have, if you know, we have a quantum computer which is actually smaller than an average computer. You get it? With respect to the functional operating size, not the entire system, because of the cooling and stuff. So you realize that but that's basically the entire generalization.
That was exactly what I was talking about. That if you are looking at the aesthetics and other parts of it, like let's see, cooling and the heating aspects, Moore's law doesn't quite cover that. Look at processors, transistors, basic engines. Those things have gotten smaller and better. You understand?
Yeah, I mean, anything that has to do with semiconductors have gotten smaller and better.
Smaller and better.
But and we're talking about the purpose.
But then that should actually should have a direct correlation with the size of the actual device.
Not necessarily.
I mean, not necessarily, because look at right now,
he's bumping up his PCs with NVIDIA RDX processors and all kinds of stuff, making it a monster suited for his purpose. You understand? It gets bigger. There are water cooling, compartments for the system unit. It's bigger. It's not handy. Obviously, a MacBook is smaller than it, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be aesthetically smaller.
No, it should generally be. No, my argument is it should generally be smaller, because it comes back to, like, let's say, compare the
You want to rewrite Moore's law for him or
no
what?
compare the no my thing is the the functionality of the semiconductors become better, but then as time goes on, as the functionality of the semiconductors become better, meaning they also get reduced in size because of the advancements in the manufacturing technology, which in actual sense means that now the motherboard has a lot of space to either cramp it into a smaller corner or to add more components. So you can either make your device smaller or more lightweight, or make it more powerful. And I feel the PlayStation guys, they are rather adding more hardware or adding more capabilities to their consoles without necessarily following Moore's law. Because if, let's say, for example, a laptop, let's say the laptop I'm using now is about 8 gig RAM. Some years back, the laptop was like 2 gig RAM, but the laptop was bigger and heavier than this. And that has changed generally because of Moore's law. That and if you look at the actual theory behind Moore's law, that should be the normal progression of tech. But then you realize that some people tend to add so many other things to the device to make it better. So what I'm trying to say is that these PS people,
suited for a particular purpose.
The PlayStation.
Exactly. So I think I very much agree with Ben's point, in the sense that, I mean, I partly agree in the sense that like what a phone used to do back in 1999 is not the same thing that a phone in 2020 can do. Like functionalities and other things have changed. So now for them to actually like be able to do all those things. For example, is a Pixel phone, which has like even to the extent that they actually have like RAM issues or RAM problems with like processing pixel density and then processing images that is captured from the camera. You need more sensors and then you need more processors to actually like process the image quality that like you're getting. So in that sense, it makes sense like they'll pack more into it.
More stuff. But then effectively it shouldn't increase the size to about 3 times the first size. Because that's where my problem is. But then when they move on fully to cloud, like we have the new PlayStation 5 digital, and is it called digital, and the regular one?
Yeah, the digital edition and
so you see that if they move if in future they move towards more digital, I realize that now even PlayStation, they may even stop selling the console, and everything will go onto a digital TV, where you just connect to the server. You should have, let's say, a minimum bandwidth and some other minimum what's the name? Some other minimum a minimum bandwidth and some other minimum specifications to connect. So for me that makes more
like
sense
a
with respect
4K gaming screen.
Yeah, I mean that so it becomes like sort of like an all-in-one PC. Apple's iMac is an all-in-one PC, right? You just buy the screen. You just buy the screen and you get your keyboard and your laptop. So you realize that now they've been able to shrink. They've been able to shrink the system units into a motherboard and put it behind the screen. So for me, that's what makes more sense with respect to Moore's law. The difference over the years should be seen in the physical size of the final product, not necessarily just the chipsets in it. But then the PlayStation 1 is like 3 times smaller than the PlayStation 5.
Okay.
Yes, Maxwell.
Yeah.
I thought Maxwell was about to.
Yeah, so basically Moore's law, blah blah blah. I know you guys probably bored with the technicalities of it, but I always think I think there's always going to be what the market demands with respect to aesthetics and what the technical guys can do. Because bear in mind, if you want to cram as much RAM into a system, at the same time keep it sleek, because no one likes clumsy and bulky stuff. I mean, there has to be a certain way, the designers have to meet the technicians at a certain point. And like you say, it's not always going to be everyone following the law to the letter. Yeah, that's what's up. So Luna, PSN, Xbox, is it all access, or what's the name of Xbox Cloud or X Cloud or something like that? What's the name of Xbox Cloud?
I think it's all access because like
All
there's
access.
no limitation to whatever I can get.
Yeah, and Google Stadia. So the cloud gaming
Xbox is X Cloud.
Basically
xCloud.
xCloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are so many challenges. I feel cloud gaming is not going to do well in our part of the world yet.
Oh, yeah.
Challenges.
I mean, people from Twitch make as much as like $12 million in a year from streaming.
That disrespect. And is PewDiePie on Twitch?
PewDiePie should be streaming, and Mr. Beast, and
Mr. Beast is a gamer.
Yeah, even he has started an exclusive YouTube gaming channel, and hits
right.
And the last video I saw, he had gotten like 12 million in like less than 1 day or so.
That guy is really, the algorithm just favors him, Charlie.
But I think one thing you should also keep in mind is that Amazon owns Twitch. So it kind of makes a business sense that they're launching Luna and then basically leveraging what they built with Twitch to like propagate.
And also,
I'm coming, you guys. I'm coming. So Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast Gaming, a video 1 day ago 5.7 million views, and 4 days ago 30 million views. 1 week ago 16 million views. 6 days ago 18
How
million
does this
views.
channel?
Let me check. It's 8.54 million subscribers. So that means the channel is not that old.
How did he get that?
The channel was started.
Mr. Beast is at 15 million subscribers.
April 7th, 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
That has a loyal following.
You know, right?
I mean, if you live in a part of the world where internet is not that expensive, it's very.
Personally, think Minecraft sucks as a game. I wonder why people like it.
I also think it's very much sucks. But no shade to anyone who likes Minecraft, though. But in my opinion,
if you can play Animal Crossing now, I don't blame you. So I was saying, with respect to distribution of game titles, I think cloud gaming is really changing it, because with a click of a button, and of course with a swipe of your card, figure it.
No, he's not playing.
Okay, so with a swipe of a card and just a click of a button, you should basically get access to almost all the titles.
By this time, you're not exactly swiping. I guess entering your card details.
Yeah, but figuratively, please cut me some slack on that one. So you can tell that it's a whole different ball game when it comes to titles. No physical CDs, nothing. Cloud gaming is basically going to let the average guy who can't buy, let's say, a console still play probably some of the best God of War, or probably some of the best Call of Duty titles that there are, and this really is going to.
There's a caveat though. You need freaking insane internet speed to actually be able to play.
Hopefully, Starlink should help us with
that. Because imagine like you are playing a game that runs on like, let's say, NVIDIA Tesla V100 or so. Basically, the processing power would determine how fast your internet speed should go. And then that would basically go into rendering the graphics or pixels on your screen. So if your internet speed is not fast to like translate all that processes, the game will basically suck. It's better you go and buy a console.
I'm telling you.
So that part of the world, like, it will probably take, I don't know, 20 or 30.
But my boys, then they PSN top. They say they know they struggle like that. They use TableNet though, and they say it's not that bad. They can still game online. Of course, that's different from cloud game.
Yeah, I mean, because at least you can leverage the console to offload some of the processing power.
Exactly.
But
this is graphics, processing speed, everything coming straight from the internet. It's a
But you're
different ball
just
game.
opening your browser and then you're just connecting.
Yeah.
So that's
Anyway, there's also news. Hold on. There's also in the news.
wait.
Next
Sorry
item on
to
the
cut
bill.
you,
Yeah.
but on the hardware part where Amazon rolls out an Echo Show, on the topic where Elon Musk said that he stole ideas, Facebook has a similar project like this, right?
Really?
Uh,
Portal,
yeah,
Facebook portal.
yeah, yes, exactly. The
Facebook
portal.
was
Portal.
forward gaming.
No, not for gaming. Like Amazon rolled out the Echo Show. So the Echo Show is basically like a tablet, but I don't know, able to make like video calls and all that.
Yeah, and they can
Yeah.
follow you and track you.
Yeah, it's very similar to Facebook Portal.
Okay.
So
But
Elon Musk didn't lie.
they don't have the bad PR that Facebook has. I mean, when people heard about Facebook portal, they were like, Charlie, already Facebook has security issues and you want something that's following me around in my house. What the hell? So they had a lot of, backlash.
Oh,
Quite
smart
undeserved.
video calling with Alexa built in.
Yeah.
Asamo. Now Alexa also has her own.
Yeah. So that's the situation anyway. So a lot of products, as we saw, Amazon looks like it's dominating the space of hardware, and it looks like it's just the beginning, just the tip of the iceberg, really. And Bezos is going hard on his research and his product innovation. Yeah, that's what's up. Next item on the bill, being Facebook and Instagram cross-platform announcement. Zuckerberg wants to basically integrate his empire. What do you think?
You should let them. I should let them be on their own, because that's, for me, and that could be the death of one of these platforms, to the extent that in future they might end up merging both platforms, because these platforms target two different segments with respect to consumers, and I don't think it's not necessary to try merging communication between these two platforms. And for me, that's one thing Facebook missed, or that's one thing Facebook shouldn't have done with respect to buying other platforms. I think they should have rather stuck to Facebook itself and let the other platforms run on their own, because gradually people are starting to
crash competition.
They try to crash competition, but then you crash competition so much that you start killing yourself, and that's what they are doing. Because right now, a lot of people are complaining. No, a lot of people are now complaining that the whole bad rep Facebook is getting, Instagram is gradually starting to get that, and WhatsApp is also gradually starting to get that. But they realize that Instagram is getting so bad that even the co-founders.
Do you know? Not to cut you off. Do you know Instagram filed a patent to allow you to post links in your post on Instagram for a very $2 every single time you post a link? Anyway,
I don't understand.
You see, when you post a picture and you want to add a link on Instagram, the link is not active.
Yeah.
As in, you can't click on it and leave the app. But now they filed a patent asking, or the patent took the form of they charging a straight up fee of $2. That way they activate the link for you in a normal post, not a story, because stories are active in a normal post. So that's straight up cash.
But even with stories, I know you need to surpass 10K users before.
Yeah, before you
your stories become
swipe up to follow the link here.
Yeah, if you have 10K, you won't get that.
Now you basically have to pay $2 straight up. And they're saying it's actually a good case being made for influencers, because after all, what's $2 compared to maybe if they are doing affiliate marketing with links and they stand to make a lot of money, they will just shell out that amount in a heartbeat.
You see, Facebook is they are trying their best to milk the digital space, and they
The
are
product.
forgetting that
You mean a
society,
social media space? Not exactly a digital space.
well, the social media space here, and they are forgetting one thing, that social media actually depicts it's social media to us as users is more of our how should I put it, our escape away from the stress of normal society. But then they are now trying to mirror normal society and social media. I don't know if I'm explaining my point well. To the extent
You
that
actually I told you last time on a couple of episodes, I don't know which episode, I said all of them are trying to create what they call a walled garden with some of the best roses in between, but it's still a wall. You understand? Before you realize you're stuck in it and you think that's all there is. But there's more to life, or there's more to the internet in this context than their platform.
Yeah, and it's, for me, it's quite unfortunate that they are taking this route, because what money isn't Facebook making? Right now, even if you are watching a video on Facebook, you can't skip an ad. You have to watch the entire 12 seconds, unlike YouTube. So that means they've been making more money from advertisers.
No.
But then YouTube is at a higher.
Do you know YouTube has sneaked in a compulsory ad, a very quick one, like 4 seconds before the one they'll give you, they'll time you down to. No one asked them to do that, but
that one is 4 seconds.
I have ad blocking, so I don't even see that.
No, Facebook is 12. Facebook is 12
Silas,
seconds.
we have to talk.
You have to stop.
We have to talk. I need an ad blocker.
So when people talk about ads disturbing them, at least when I use the browser on my, like when I use my Chrome browser, I don't experience that. But within the app, like it's very difficult to escape to do. But if we have a browser, like ad blocker straight up.
So 12. So for 12 good seconds when you're watching the video, you have to sit down, pause, and wait for the entire video to what's the name to elapse before you can continue. And for me, that means that they're actually getting more money from the advertisers. And I don't know
guaranteed exposure.
Exactly. And I don't know what kind of, like, what else do they want?
I can't trust any company that has undergone an IPO. I told you, profit is their end game, profit. And these companies have no choice than to look for ways to get bigger, because a lot of people are betting on that. The stock market is the machine.
The amount to be fed. So
yeah,
you just have to do it.
The problem is that we are not part of the mouths that are going to be fed. That's why we are complaining. If we're part, we say, they should find better ways.
An example is, sorry to deviate, but an example is when we had a discussion about MTN being a significant market power. So that has like some sort of influence on what the investors and then the shareholders will actually get, because currently the stock price isn't doing so well. And then now with the National Telecommunication Committee trying to break it down, it will reduce the price further. So
in the market fed by speculation, this is bad news for them.
Yeah, it is.
But they should up and appreciate some prices, because they are pissing me off. Anyway.
So quick one. So they are integrating platforms, and apparently, quick one from CNN Business. Let me just read this quick one by Kaya Ureb from CNN Business. She says some Instagram users will now be able to message their friends on Messenger without needing a Facebook account. Even that, I think you guys know that you can actually use Messenger without being on Facebook now. You're aware, right?
Yeah, we have blocked it.
Like using a phone number.
Yeah, a phone number.
So and
you can even tap into your text messages, correct? Like Truecaller.
Wow.
Truecaller can even tap into your messages.
The move is the first step in Facebook's big integrated Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. announced last year, the effort could effectively cement Facebook's dominance over the messaging market for years to come, and arguably make it harder to break up the company, which is facing antitrust scrutiny in Washington. Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger each boast over 1 billion active monthly users. So yeah, this is the plan Facebook has. They want to make it that you can't break them up. Facebook, Instagram, yeah, I think we are through with that. Outlook crashes. Tell us, what's the 411 on this thing? You know what happened? Tell us.
Yeah, so Microsoft Outlook was down worldwide for I think about 4 hours. But funny thing is, that wasn't just Microsoft Outlook. Popular Microsoft apps like 365 and then Microsoft Teams were down. And basically, for enterprise organizations, given like the times we're living right now, like everyone is like heavily dependent on these applications to like do work and then communicate. So basically, Microsoft Outlook going down means that most enterprise organizations weren't able to like work. So phone calls, video calls, and documentation and all that was basically halted for I think around 4 hours. But eventually I came back.
What was the reason?
Funny enough,
overload, because they've been encouraging a lot of online use recently.
There's an article in the Slack group. If Silas could read that for us.
Okay, I'll actually read that. Okay, so Microsoft says a recent configuration change. Yeah, from the Verge. Microsoft says a recent configuration change was to blame for the issues. We determined that a recent configuration updates to components that route user request was the cause of impact. So they basically reverted their updates and then they are monitoring for service recovery. So, but the funny thing is that we don't exactly know the details to this because unlike a company like Cloudflare, so Cloudflare is basically like a domain name service where like basically the host website. So if there's your website is basically down, they give you details as to like why your website or your product or something is down.
So this is just PR, typical PR response.
Yeah, this is a typical PR response. But I'm reading a thread from that's from Twitter, an account that is MSFT365 status. So it says on official Microsoft account for updates on 365 incidents. So basically it was giving reports on something similar that happened in India. And then it has to do with their infrastructure that determine the impact on Exchange Online protocols. So in relation to what the Verge said about routing user requests and all that, so we probably think it was a configuration error where like that caused all this. So it basically gives further details as to like their admin center under a certain number code was down, and then they are basically reviewing those changes to determine the cause of the impact. So it affected both desktop, mobile, and then web apps as well. So everything basically crashed.
Wow, that sounds big.
It's huge actually. And if you look at the Microsoft 365 suite of applications, you have SharePoint, you have Microsoft Teams, Outlook, I think Microsoft Power BI, and a host of other applications. So like you have like over 30 plus applications, all within the 365 suite.
But you see, this is one of the issues why sometimes I support China's pursuit for Western alternatives, because in the event of mass outages or let's say failures, I mean the repercussions are huge because globally, I mean a lot, money, work hours equals money, and when you are so tied into a particular system where you don't even discover alternatives, and let's say the systems go south, you realize that then everything comes grinding to a halt, and that's a problem. Places like China probably don't have these issues because they always have alternatives, usually local ones. And I'm not trying to see whatever alternative they might have is immune to crashes. I'm just trying to say that you should always have alternatives. What do you think?
Yeah, I believe so too. But given how should I say how dependent we have become? Like, give my scenario because I work most of our uh, emails and then product offerings and communications, all that, all happens within this suite of applications. So they have actually built like dependency layer on it. So we are basically hooked such that anywhere, because you can't exactly find a replica of the Microsoft 365 like anywhere else. No, there's no tech company that actually gives you that offering. So it actually becomes very difficult for someone to say, okay, let me find another alternative. And in order to find an alternative, so you would probably get something like, let's say, Slack, and you use Gmail and all that. All these things are like different tech products you have to like use, and then have to think of how a Slack message will, yeah. But then with an example is with Microsoft Outlook, you can message someone from Microsoft Teams, and then the person will get an alert on Microsoft Outlook. And then with their SharePoint, you can easily like restrict. Let's say we are within an organization, they want to restrict content or podcast.
Or close it off. Yeah,
close it off to specific people. You're able to do all that, and it becomes easy for like file sharing, documentation, and all that. So that ecosystem is
like, all their products for work-related products and all that.
So until someone is able to build that, I think for a long time, everyone will still be.
I think they didn't start in a grand fashion. They started with, let's say, Word, and Word became Access, and Access became PowerPoint, and you see, and they brought out this whole product line. But I always want to advocate for options, because in cases like this, you realize that there was a time where WhatsApp was down, WhatsApp was down. I think Instagram was messing up, and everyone went back to Facebook and was ranting that the world is about Twitter. So these things,
and Twitter as well. Funny thing is that one time Twitter went down, and then people went on Facebook.
Yeah, you go back home. You go back to your hometown. That happens.
But sneaky attack there. Apple is just can't relate there because they have iMessage. Just say.
Oh, lost. Anyway,
it's hard.
So next item on whatever. Samsung looks to overtake Huawei. So this is a story that has been brewing in the news, and of course, it's coming as a forecast series of events from Trump's Huawei ban citing national security risk to UK giving Huawei 5 or so years to basically kick itself off their 5G network and so many things. Yes. And this extending to other parts of Europe, like Germany. I mean, this diplomatic tussle that's happening, you can see that Huawei is being edged out, and Huawei also being forced to discontinue its Kirin chipsets because of Trump blacklisting them and forcing them not to work with chip manufacturers. So it's a whole lot of issues, double-decker issues hitting them from all angles, and the forecast is very bleak. So they are saying Huawei looks to revert to only serving China in the long term, and its global expansion look to be halted. So let's watch MKB. No, not MKBHD. Let's watch Mr. Who's the Boss with his video.
MKBHD's brother. Hey, YouTube and
I want to make an animation.
Well, then make
one check.
Can't draw.
Channels. I've had other VPNs.
I've watched
case manufacturers.
I've watched this video before actually.
Between the US and China. It's probably not good news for US companies. It's almost definitely bad news for Chinese companies. But for Korean Samsung, it's like the stars are lining up. I'm not talking a small victory here. I think this is Samsung's big shot at world technological domination. If we take a look at the top smartphone vendors globally, one thing stands out, that Huawei is huge. In the last 5 years, this company's grown from 5% market share to 20. That's ludicrous. This company was the single biggest threat to Samsung's mobile operations. But now is where I think that ends. The US ban means that Huawei can't offer Google Apps, they can't build their own flagship chips, and now just suffers from a general lack of trust. And without these things, I think it's just a matter of time before Huawei returns to just serving the Chinese market. So just theoretically, if we took Huawei out of the picture, Samsung becomes a clear number one, leaving only really Xiaomi as a realistic Android rival. And don't get me wrong, Xiaomi will also benefit if Huawei disappears. They're already managing to scoop up current Huawei users looking for an alternative with these attractively priced, globally available devices. Plus, Xiaomi's putting particular emphasis on the fact that their phones can run Google Play services, so as not to be confused with their other Chinese counterpart. But you see, this is the issue that Xiaomi faces. A lot of the people who are unwilling to buy a Huawei phone because they don't trust it might also not be willing to buy from other Chinese brands. The US banned Chinese Huawei. They banned Chinese ZTE a few years before that. They literally just announced a ban for Chinese TikTok like a week ago. It's not looking good for Chinese brands in general. And here's the thing, right? The worse this US-China relationship gets, the better Samsung does. And a massive thanks to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Going back to that list, pretty much every one of Samsung's main competitors, Oppo, Vivo, and even a lot of companies sitting in that other section, like Realme, they're all Chinese. But Samsung dodged that bullet by being a company that is Korean and one that is publicly withdrawn from manufacturing in China, instead moving to India and Vietnam. And guess what? Those two just so happen to be regions that the US is trying to strengthen its relations with. So Samsung has kind of just found themselves in a position where people want their phones more, and they started responding to it. This new Galaxy S20 Fan Edition was literally launched with the very purpose of capitalizing on increased appetite for Samsung, and I would fully expect them in the next year to start releasing more models than ever. Oh, and there's more. You might be aware that Apple is very soon planning to launch their first ever 5G iPhones. Now, generally when Apple does this, when they introduce a feature on their phones that has actually been around for some time, they do it in a big way. Apple is often the company to catapult relatively niche features into the mainstream. They did it with voice assistants, they did it with fingerprint scanners, they're about to do it with 5G. And the reason this helps Samsung is that, believe it or not, they are one of the few companies that builds 5G infrastructure. Now, there's a pretty reasonable chance that you had no idea Samsung did this, because the main three companies are Huawei, Nokia, and Ericsson. But Samsung is fourth, and I think they're about to climb. See, with this political conflict, China is separating from the West. I mean, Huawei has physically been ripped out of a lot of Europe's 5G infrastructure, and it's looking like China might retaliate. In the exact same way that the West has vetoed use of Huawei, it's very possible that China will just veto the use of European companies like Ericsson and Nokia. And would you believe it, that leaves Samsung as the only neutral party who could potentially supply to both sides of the conflict. And I could bet my bottom dollar they're gonna try. Literally a couple of weeks ago, Samsung signed a 5-year deal with Verizon in the US to build 5G infrastructure for them. They're already wrestling in, basically offering themselves as a China-free alternative to Huawei 5G. They've just recently dropped over $20 billion into 5G and AI, and Samsung is well on their way into planning their 6G infrastructure to come in 2028. And see, the better Samsung's networking business does, the better their smartphone business does. If Samsung starts building really close ties with Verizon and other carriers, then that puts Samsung's hardware right in the limelight for US customers, because carriers are the ones selling the phones. But there's even more to this. Something like 30% of Samsung's revenue right now is actually from its semiconductor business, which sells chips. And whilst this division might lose a bit of money in the short term, because they used to sell bits and pieces to Huawei for their phones, in the long term, it's looking pretty good. For starters, Huawei was one of the few other companies who made mobile chipsets. Every year they'd come out with an increasingly advanced Kirin chip to power their flagship phones. But the US ban makes this almost impossible. It's looking likely that after 2020, Huawei just won't be able to do it anymore. So that 20% of the market that used to be powered by Kirin is now open to being powered by Samsung. Plus, looking at the next generation, chipsets are going to be built on the tiny 5nm fabrication process. And it looks like Samsung was ready for this. It looks like Samsung has built the processes to be able to manufacture 5nm chipsets with relatively high efficiency. And that means two things. A, that Samsung's next Exynos processors should be way higher performance. And this is backed up by Ice Universe, who also adds that in 2022, they're gonna start building in AMD's graphics cores, which might even flip their current Achilles heel into a strength. And B, that apparently Samsung, as well as building their own, have been picked to build the next Qualcomm Snapdragon 875 chips too. Samsung's supposed efficiency means that they can offer a 5nm chip to Qualcomm for less than TSMC, who Qualcomm usually works with. So, Samsung rakes in money from Qualcomm, and at the same time might just be able to build their own Exynos chipset, which is comparable. And if they can do that, they will fly. Because, while Samsung can then happily use their own Exynos chips in their phones for no extra cost, every other Android maker will either have to fork out an extra $30 to $50 to buy one from Qualcomm, or come straight to Samsung and buy an Exynos chip for their phones. Either way, Samsung wins. They're in a position where they can leverage their 5G and their chipset business to push their mobile phone business forward. I mean, obviously they do still have Apple to compete with, but if US cuts ties with China, then I think even Apple will struggle. Because it's very possible that China will retaliate with the same sentiment. No one in China buy an iPhone. And even though this doesn't really directly help Samsung because Samsung has almost no market share in China, it would hurt Apple. Besides, a lot of Apple's manufacturing happens in China too, which means that if they are pressured to pull out, it might well mean they have to raise their prices for the rest of the world. But to be fair, just generally, I would argue that Samsung isn't particularly worried about Apple. I think the average consumer is actually quite averse to jumping between Android and iOS, which means that if Chinese Android brands fall in popularity, their users are way more likely to turn to Samsung as opposed to iPhone. Plus, Samsung just serves a much wider net of users than Apple. Everything from the budget section, which Apple doesn't dare build for, to foldables. Apart from Chinese companies, the only foldable competition Samsung faces is from Motorola. They would pretty much have the entire foldable market. So, the US and China seem to be falling out, and intentionally or not, I feel like Samsung is in the perfect position to gain from this. And because a lot of the world follows the US's lead, if this carries on, which is looking like it will, then this won't just be some small win for Samsung in the United States, this will be a global victory. And it could well be self-reinforcing. If all of a sudden 40% of smartphone users become Samsung users, then Samsung's going to sell more appliances, they're going to sell more TVs and more services, all of which will be made to work with each other. Okay, you've probably heard me talk about Surfshark VPN for...
I think that's it. Yeah. That reminds me.
So that's a lot. Of course, most of it is speculation.
Yeah. Our YouTube channel is now at 161 subscribers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Some advertisements that we are not aware of.
I don't know.
The numbers.
The witches in my family are working. And they are doing good. Please, let's continue before Maxwell Boss. Yes, Brad.
yeah. So I'm like, this is, it's better. Yeah, so clearly a lot of factors are playing into the hands of Samsung, and we can see that Huawei has been forcibly removed from certain markets, and also with the ban, it's had serious repercussions. And I'd like to also read this article, just a quick one. Read this article from the 9th September from Forbes. Huawei suffers daunting new blow from Samsung. Huawei's gift for releasing top flight products with genuine innovation continues unabated, but the company is also finding increasing issues from continuous sanction from Trump administration. Just days ago, now it's being reported by UPI in a story picked up by The Verge that Samsung, along with other Korean companies, SN Hynix, will stop selling chips to the company in a matter of days. On Tuesday, September 15th, that's when new rules restricting how companies can deal with Huawei come into force. Those restrictions mean the US sanctions not only apply to American companies such as Google and Qualcomm having business dealings with Huawei, but to companies from outside the United States as well. Third-party suppliers are required to cease trading with Huawei unless approval is granted from the US. Taiwanese chip maker TSMC has previously announced that it will stop processing new orders from Huawei, meaning Huawei's stockpile of current chips will be the last the company would have from that source. So it's been a turbulent few weeks for Huawei, and it's basically the nail that is being driven into their coffin when it comes to their whole business model. But it shocks me how the whole political, diplomacy and business have become so meshed together that I mean, they are even hard to separate, such that sanctions from one end of the globe could ripple all the way to the other end. You understand? So if you don't find yourself on the right side of, let's say, America or of any superpower, and you want to fight them, you're going to have a tough time. Because is it Ren Zhengfei, the CEO, the founder of Huawei, said that he's ready to take on America, and apparently probably didn't see this coming because things are looking very bleak for Huawei.
I feel like they are being too aggressive with everything they are doing. Like they are literally like collapsing the business as we know it.
But China is very proud. Can you imagine they said they would much rather have TikTok banned than sold? China is a very proud country.
I mean, given that Africa is a very nice market for their product continuity. I mean, if just the US and then let's say, I mean, the EU is also sort of like leaning towards it. Should move away from them. At least they'll still have that's Asia, Africa, and I think they'll basically have any other continent that is not in South America or not the US and European Union. So I feel like.
But when you talk about trends, for example, with TikTok, a lot of trends and even a lot of musicians do live TikTok for album launches now. The platform is becoming so mainstream.
But Dua Lipa did the same thing, where like she actually made people record TikTok videos of themselves to her new album and actually made a
music video.
Video out of it. So.
It doesn't surprise me. Even Jennifer Lopez recently launched or premiered one of her big music videos. I don't listen to Jennifer Lopez music, by the way, but she recently launched it on. Well, because it's basically not very masculine. So yeah.
How do you put the anyway?
So yeah, and it's most of it is Spanish anyway. So it's like shaking my head.
That's a better
Enrique Iglesias music, like.
That's a better.
Okay, yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Not masculine.
It was also just in Spanish, but then it was like the most popular song of 2018.
Yeah, but you only get those songs once in a while. Most of the Spanish songs are trash. You know that, right?
Hey.
Okay, whatever. You guys don't do it.
With the A is killing me.
So anyway, so
it's like
you see that TikTok is
it's like someone saying tree songs are trash, probably because they did not appreciate the language.
Good. So those ones that break beyond that divide or that language barrier are few and are once in a while. You understand? Because unless I'm a devout fan of, let's say, Enrique Iglesias, chances that I would like every one of his songs are minimal. Next to zero, in fact. So yeah. Anyway, so like I said, these platforms like TikTok are now becoming more than just trend-setting platforms. They're becoming places where a lot of internet activity is happening there. And if you cut a very viable market like North America from such an app, there's no two ways about it. There are going to be repercussions because Africa, in as much as we consume, our consumption can't compare to North America. It can't.
But I
probably we are like
around it because like
sorry,
things like VPN. Like with things like VPN, you can still have access to like the apps that are like literally not that on your phone. I feel like the US like VPNs are very popular in the US. So most creators will still do that. Just that they probably won't have.
It's a bit technical.
Yeah,
it's a bit technical. You see, its mainstream usage will come down if it takes a VPN to log on. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what's up with Samsung. So Samsung looks like it's on the up. It's when I say it's on the up, like it's on the upward ascension. So yeah, that's good news. One quick one. It looks like we've come to the end of our stories,
Wait,
but
but
there's one.
sorry to
Yeah.
cut you, but do you know that we are, I mean, not that we are, but then low key, the world government is right would eventually make Samsung a significant market power.
And become the
Eventually, I'll
Huawei.
be coming.
No, and like literally become like own more than like if things go on well, they'll probably own like more than 30% of the smartphone market share. And then we'll then
Yeah,
come back
but
to where we'll have to break them. But we're the
But
same
Samsung,
people
no, Samsung is bigger than that too. And Samsung, they already have an experience in breaking out the company that I doubt they'll
Yeah.
ever get there.
plus, you guys are forgetting. Plus, Samsung is an ally of US. You understand? That's where all this is coming from. It's not a security
Oh, yeah.
threat, and yeah. But anyway, let's look at Elon Musk criticizing OpenAI's exclusive licensing deal with GP3
I think,
to
Marcel,
Microsoft. This is an interesting one.
let's use it for the next episode. Looking
Oh,
at the time
all right,
left.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Look at the time left. Otherwise, we'll end up giving them all the juice. They need to patiently sit down. Hey, our lovely listeners need to our lovely listeners need to anticipate for more content from us. You understand? Yes.
All right, sure.
And so
So that's basically a wrap for today's, for this recording or this episode of STN.
and
That's
I think this would be a good time to congratulate the entire team. You know, we are 3 episodes shy from our 50th episode, our 50th published episode. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, today we uploaded the 47th episode. And we
Oh,
are just 3
nice.
episodes
Yeah.
shy. So I think on the 50th episode, we should do something. I don't know what we'll do, but then we
But
should do
but
something memorable.
do giveaway or do momo.
Give what?
when are we going? When are we going on a break?
On a break.
Like when are we breaking season 3? Had to ask.
25.
Right now we've done only 12.
Okay, so
Yeah.
basically double that, double like 12 more.
Yeah. So we have about 12 more to go. Then you already started to get fatigued.
No. I'm just asking.
Okay.
Just asking because last time you ambushed me when you said you were going on a break. So I want to know.
Okay. So guys, that's it from us for this episode. Hope to see you in the next one. Don't forget to leave us a comment or a suggestion or whatever you're not doing. At this point, I don't even know why we keep saying it because no one leaves us anything. But then, in hopes that someone leaves us
I'm
something.
laughing because of what you're saying and also the quickness matter you've been saying bye. I'm 100% going to 3 points.
Wait, your man still dey talk plenty. Oh, Charlie, talk. I no bore.
So guys, that's it from us, and hope you enjoyed this episode, and it's a pleasure having to come to
He's just deliberately stalling at this point. You are just
come to you.
a horrible person. Okay.
Me, I'm saving you from the statistics. So,
Okay. Sure.
all right, guys. So that's goodbye.